Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai Bashim Kakwadash, and Shalom to the hopefully elect out there. I don't know how I'm going to go with this. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I'm going to just go right into it. Anyway, this is from the book. Anyway, let me give this video a title. I almost forgot. The title I'm going to give this video is The Northern Kingdom Came to the Americas, or are in the Americas to this day. So the Northern Kingdom came to the Americas. Simple, basic, straightforward title, and that brings controversy with the so-called community of Israel, the different Israelite groups. You have, you got to go back to High Priest Ariel, you got to go back to One West, you got to go back to Abba, you got to go back to the 7. And when I came in, the 12 tribes, one of the first things I saw was the 12 tribe chart in the school. If you're looking at the One West, you're sitting down, you're facing this big window. If you look out the window, you would see, 125th Street, and on the left-hand side, if you're standing looking out the window, you had the 12 tribe sign. You had other signs out there too, other relics, but that was a prominent sign, which was the 12 tribe sign. And what was unique about this Israelite group, so I come to realize the truth came out of One West. That's another topic right there for anybody that wants to grab it. Before I go into this, here it is. Now, I can understand if you're arguing whether the tribe of Gad or the North American Indians, whether the tribe of Issachar or the Mexicans, but you can't argue that the people over here in the Americas, when the Europeans, so-called Europeans, because that's not really their name, that name European comes from a so-called black woman, Greek mythology, a woman by the name of a fictional woman by the name of Europa, that Zeus transformed into I believe it was a white bull, if I'm not mistaken, and caused her to jump on his back, and then he took her up to the heavens and popped her. So the woman Europa never existed, but if she had existed, she was a black woman. Zeus was a so-called black man, a black god. Poseidon was a black god. Hades was a black god. Kronos, the father of Zeus and his brothers and sister, I believe he had one sister, they were all black. And I forget the name of his mother, but the father's name was Kronos, which is Greek for time, which Jake came up with that. Anywhere Jake goes, they give, whatever place that they go, they give it flavor. So Esau didn't come up with Zeus and Greek mythology. Jake came up with the whole Greek mythology thing. Anyway, so it says Lost Tribes in Promised Land is a compelling analysis of facts, beliefs, legends, superstitions, and the ways in which they interact to shape America's racial history. That's Newsweek. Lost Tribes in Promised Lands, the origins of American racism. Ronald Sanders, with a foreword by Michael Doris. There's a lot of information in this book. So I'm reading the back of it. I pray for the lost tribes and promised lands. It says, intriguing and controversial thesis that would be certain to generate much debate. You know, recently, Vocab Malone, they did a video entitled something to the effect of not all the Israelites believe in the 12 tribes chart. Well, that's good. I'm glad at that. I have no problem with that. That just shows you that there's different different philosophies, different forms of teaching. But it is established that the main group that they go after are the groups of the former One Westers, the IUICs, the ISUPKs, the GMSs, the HODCs, the GOCC, and more recently the other groups like Sakari and the various other groups that actually stem not from the Step 7. None of those individuals stem from the 7, so they didn't know King Mashar, High Priest Ariyah. And by the way, we're the only group that still teaches that Mashar is King David, and Ariyah is John on the Isle of Patmos. None of them other groups teach that. Or if they do believe it, they don't push it. They don't make a big deal of it. Now you have other groups like Sakari that stem from GMS. So the leadership or the members of Sakari never met Ariyah, never met Mashar, never met Yaquab, never met any of the 7, never been to the school. A lot of them weren't even born when I went to the school. And that's a fact. When I was going to the school learning, you guys wasn't even, your parents were kids. Ain't that so? Anyway, let me read a little bit more. If any precepts come to mind, I'll bring them up. If not, y'all can help me on the comment section. When you come on the comment section, you know, wipe your feet at the door. I got that from my man, Blue Blood TV. Anyway, when you come up in there, you say shalom, and then you fill that section with precepts. Hey, look, the other day I went on. It was a Friday night. It was the elder Manataz Akbar from down south. So I went on his page. You know, it was a notification. I went on there, and I just started putting up precepts. I didn't even say shalom. I just started throwing precepts up there, and then he looked at them. There's another precept. Read it, another precept. So the same thing with my channel. You come on my channel, wipe your feet at the door, and start hitting me with them precepts. Anyway, it says, and we'll see if any precepts come to my mind. It says, let me read this here. Okay, this is from The Choice. It says, the author describes the preconceived racial attitudes of, because when the Europeans came over here, they came with a racist mind. They came with a mindset, and they brought, remember, mind you, they came with Christianity. So the origins of all Christianity, all these different churches are based on racism. You go to Baptist church or Catholic, go to Catholic church, Pentecostal church, and point at the picture of Caesar Borgia, because that's who he is, not Jesus, so-called Jesus Christ, and say that's not the right picture. Jesus Christ is a so-called black man. They'll kick you out the church. So that's showing you, including you, Vocab, you're a racist, man. You're nothing but a racist. And when that brother Ash did that video and had you next to a guy with a Klan outfit, you're nothing but a Klan. You're a secret Klansman. Now we know you're not a card-carrying member of the Klan, but you on their same side. You are a racist, man. Now you won't say that the Messiah is a white man. You won't say that. You'll say, no, we don't know what color he is. Or whatever you say, but you won't. But in the same breath, you'll say that, well, he's not a black man. But then when you bring up the white thing, but he's not white either. Well, he had to be some kind. Was he Chinese? Was he Arab? Was he East Indian? Huh? And then when you go into, let me get back into this. And then when you go into, I'm rambling a little bit. When you go into ranting, when you go into the color of the Messiah, and it says his head and his hair were white like wool, and it said the color. So now you're saying that he's white. But then when we say, so you're saying he's white? No, I'm not saying he's a white man, but he had white skin. That would be leprosy. Numbers 12 and 10 speaks about Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron, how she came up against Moses along with Aaron, but the Most High put the curse on Miriam, and that curse was leprosy. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And you so-called, you Edomites are really pale looking. You can say white. And what makes you red? Because you're actually not red. You're not red. You're pale. But the reason why you are called red is because of the paleness of your skin. Your skin is somewhat translucent. Look that word up. And the blood shows forth through your translucent skin. So therefore we call you red. But you're really pale or white. Lack of pigment. So the blood shows through because you're translucent. Now if you look up the word ruddy, so it says David was ruddy. Well, guess what? If you go and look up ruddy, you go to Google, you put in ruddy horse or whatever, it'll come up as, matter of fact, let me do this. Bear me for a minute. I believe I got it. So now I looked up the word ruddy, right? I put in ruddy horse. A bunch of images came up. Let me go right here. Bear me for a minute. Where's the damn image at? Okay, beautiful. The ruddy duck. Now look at that real closely. We're gonna kill that BS about ruddy. Oh, David was ruddy. Okay, that means he could have, if it has nothing to do with color. He was young and tender. That's why Goliath didn't want to fight him. He said, "You young blood." Now look at the duck. Ruddy. Malcolm X was ruddy. But can Malcolm X attend the Klan meeting? No. You can see the brown, the reddish brown, like myself. You can say that I'm ruddy. I'm about the complexion of Malcolm X, a little bit lighter. Let me bring it back. I'm just ranting a little bit. Let me do this. Bear me for a minute. Okay. So this is what come up when I clicked on ruddy. Look at that. about the complexion of Malcolm X. It's a reddish brown. The Gadites are actually, you can say that they're red because they're reddish brown. None of these horses look like a so-called white man as far as complexion or color is concerned. Look at that. They're all brown. They're reddish brown. By the way, brown is a combination of two colors. Green and red. Red is a primary color, and green is you can say a secondary color. Green is a combination of, I believe it's blue and yellow. Bear with me for a minute. So now let me come back and read this. Okay, it says, I'm going to go to choice. Let me read it again if I didn't read it. The author describes the preconceived racial attitudes of Portuguese, European descent, Spanish, French, and English explorers from 1400 to 1700. Read again. The author describes the preconceived racial attitudes of Portuguese, Spanish, French, and English explorers from 14 to 1700, and examines how their original views, which everything is white. God is white in heaven. The angels are white. Adam is white, so-called white. Eve is white. The Israelites are white. It says in the Israelites, the Most High is a so-called black man. Daniel 7. The Israelites, were so-called people of color. So when this man came over here with his Christianity, he said everything is white. And he said, to prove it, I'm going to tear everything down as black in Europe and put up white people, which is called Renaissance art. Renaissance art, or the Renaissance, the European Renaissance, is nothing but, that's racism. That's nothing but racism, man. They saw the original images of the people of that land, the Israelites, the prophets, our Lord, the priests, that they were all people of color that had woolly hair for the most part. Some of them had curly hair. Samson, Moses, all of the prophets, they portrayed them as all being so-called white people, which is a big lie, it's a major lie. What does Job 9:24 say? I hadn't read that in a while. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. Who are the judges? The Israelites. The Most High, the paintings of the Most High, of the angels, of the Messiah, of the prophets, of the priests, of the kings. He covers their faces. He X'd them out. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the question is, if it's not this man, then who's the man? Now the small hats, the JJs, is mad as hell and calling us anti-Semitic for finding out who we are. We found out that who we are. That's like you go into a store and you buy something and you leave in the car and they jump you and say you stole that, and then you say, well, here's my receipt. And they probably say, well, you found that receipt. Or you beat up somebody and took the receipt and you took their merchandise. And then you check the cameras, because anytime you go into a store, there's cameras all over the place, hidden cameras. That's a fact. Every inch of the store there's a camera. There's a camera. So they go check the cameras and they see me or whoever go in the store, go to the salesperson, go to the thing, pull out money, pull out their credit card, pay for it. They give me a receipt. So everything's, and then you know what they'll do? Oh, the machine broke. That's how these devils operate. So whatever we do, they don't like what we're doing, they're going to change the narrative. So we found out that we were the Israelites. We went into the scriptures and did the research and said, wow, that fits us. That fits us. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Yeah, we came over here in cargo slave ships. That's why you got clowns like Vocab trying to debunk it. All right? I'm ranting, just stick with me and feed the sidebar with them precepts. Okay? So the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So when he covered the faces, he had to put his face up there. That's your Renaissance art. Renaissance, rebirth. Who was reborn? Europeans. That's the fulfillment of Revelation 20. One of my favorite precepts, Revelation 20. Revelation 20, I can read that all day, every day. That is so on the point. When you read them first couple of verses, Christopher Columbus come to your mind. Queen Isabella of Spain. King Ferdinand. The Moors. Granada. Granada was taken down. I forget the exact year. Somebody can help me out. Any of you historians out there, give me the exact year and give me the king, the last king. I forget how to say his name, but it's, matter of fact, let me do this. Let me do this. The last king of the Moors. Last king of the Moors of Spain. Okay, they give you his Muslim name. Okay, Muslim king Bo-Abdil, and he wasn't an Arab. He got these Arab looking. Okay, this is a good one right here. Matter of fact, there's a couple good ones. The Moors were Israelites. Okay, black kings and queens ruled parts of Europe for almost 700 years. The Philadelphia Sunday Sun. The Sunday Sun, son. So here it is right here. Hope you can see it. Hope you can see it. You see that they're black people. Don't let me have to pull out an icon book. Don't let me have to pull out, I have a Renaissance book. Renaissance art. And all those paintings in that book dates back past, most of them is 1500, the 1500s. I feel like bringing that book out. Here's another one. 15 facts about Moors, black kings and queens who ruled and civilized Europe, the African history. This is when we was on top, and the Moors were Israelites. Even the current Moors are saying that today. There it goes. Okay? So let me read this again, and I'm going to go into this book. It said the author described the preconceived racial attitudes of Portuguese, which are racists, Spaniards, racists, French, racists, and English explorers, all races, from 1400 to, so this is even before Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, to 1700, even today, and examines how their original views, everything being white, were strengthened or revised as they encountered natives in Africa or the Americas, because you had the Southern Kingdom and the Africas, and then you had the Northern Kingdom, which was for the most part, which was in the Americas. You had a few of the Northern Kingdom sprinkled among the Kingdom of Judah. That's where Anna, the prophetess that was up in age of the tribe of Asher. So let me just open this. I'm not going to go real long, but anyway, this is page 164 of Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, and this is what it says. It speaks about this guy, Bartholomew de las Casas. Matter of fact, let me look him up. Okay, so Boabdil, it says the end of Muslim rule at the heart of Spain, because the Moors ruled most, if not all, of Spain, came to an end on January 2nd, 1492, when Boabdil relinquished the keys to the Moorish capital to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, because they conquered them. And why did they conquer them at that time? Because that was their 1,000 years were up, and they were loosed in the book of Revelation, chapter 20. Matter of fact, let me do this right quick. Bear with me for a minute. Blue letter. Okay, here we go. Blue letter Bible. All right. I'm going to go right here to Revelation 20. Revelation 20, verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven having the keys to the bottomless pit. And you know what I'm going to do? Let me do this. The bottomless pit. See what the word pit translate to. Okay, the word is abyss. Which is Europe, and that's another lesson. and a great chain in his hand. It was a spiritual chain. See, the reason why we're underneath Esau is because there's a spiritual curse on us. This curse is spiritual. That's why it says in Deuteronomy 28, anywhere you go, the curse is going to follow you. But guess what? You see Jake doing good, right? Because the Most High is lifting the curses. We don't have it as bad as we had it back in hardcore slavery. We're talking 100 some odd years ago, 200 years ago, 400 years ago, 300 years ago. It says, and he laid hold on the dragon, and we know who the dragon is. This is why we call this man the devil. Because the scriptures, just anytime we read about Esau or who the enemy is, it always goes back to the devil. It said he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So that 1,000-year period represents what? When we came into power. The official date was really before, we really ruled longer than 1,000 years. But the official starting point was right around during the time of Constantine the Great. That was the Byzantine Empire. And the people of the Byzantine, they used to teach in the Roman Catholic Church that Byzantium and the Byzantine Empire were all white people. No, they were all Jake. They were Jake that ruled. And they were speaking Greek at that time. So the official start date was when he sat up and he became Caesar, Emperor of Rome, and also the religious leader. That's where you get the church fathers from. So from 325 to 1350, going into the 1400s, that's when we started to slowly go down. And that's when and then the Most High helped this man by hitting us with that plague, which is the bubonic. Let me go to that. The bubonic plague. Bubonic plague. I wanted to get the year. They ain't giving me the year. Bear me for a minute. They don't want to give me the year. Okay, let me go to history, bubonic plague, history. Wow, now check this out. It says the Black Death or the bubonic plague, also known as the pestilence, the great mortality of the plague, was a bubonic plague pandemic occurring in Western Eurasia and North Africa from 13. Who was living in North Africa? Jake. Who was living in Europe, especially Spain? Jake. So 1,000 years were up. So the Most High had to cut us down. If the Most High didn't cut us down, and the number of people that were taken was up to, some say 75 million, others say 200 million. It says in North Africa from 1346 to 1353, it is the most fatal pandemic recorded in human history, causing the death of 75 to 200 million people, peaking in Europe from 1346 to 1353, peaking in 1347 to 1351. So we're talking. So we're talking about 7 years, 6 to 7 years. Because there's a thing called herd immunity. The weak ones are going to die. The babies, the newborns are going to die. The old people are going to die. The sick people are going to die. And the ones that remain are usually of a certain age and they have a stronger immune system. So if there's no cure for it, eventually it'll die off. It'll get the weak ones. That's what happened with the so-called, the C-19. So-called, right? So this is history right here. There's so many directions you can go. But if you notice that it was the bubonic plague took place 1346, 1347, when Constantine the Great sat on the throne and became the ruler of 2 realms. That was in 325. So from that starting point, we got about an extra 20 years. So it was around that time we came into power. This man started going down. He was put down. The Dark Ages. Esau doesn't want to talk about the Dark Ages. They said the Dark Ages was a sad time. Why did they say that? Because they were on the bottom and we was on the top. So who sent that plague? Who sent that plague? The Most High sent that plague. Because why? Because he looked at his divine watch and he said, okay, now it's time to bring my people back down and put the curses back on them, and to bring this people, the Edomites, up. Esau came up because the Most High put the spirit on this man to come up in power. The Most High guided this man to do what he's doing today. So now he's going down. So you know what I'm gonna do? Let me I'm going a little long. Let me just read this and then I'll close. Okay, so it says, well, I started reading it. It says, Bartolome de las Casas, among Los Casas' most direct, successes in this creed or belief, the vision of the Indian destiny as a Jewish. Maybe I got to read on top. Let me come up here. It says, and I'll show you the page. It says the same can be said for the new racist Christian. Christianity is a racist religion. Vocab Malone is a racist religion of geographical discovery. The creed we might call Columbian. Columbian was a famous name, Columbus, which we have seen in various early manifestations, and which has now found its marks in Bartolome de las Casas, among las Casas' most direct successes in this creed, in this belief. The vision of the Indian destiny as a Jewish one is far more explicit, for they will see the new world natives as what? As descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Las Casas evidently did not share this view, nor is there any direct evidence that he consequently perceived the Indians in terms of the historic condition of what? Of Jews in new Christians and new Christians. But the age of the Inquisition was, look up Inquisition, characterized by concealed motives and indirect modes of expressions, and if Los Casas did not explicitly attack the dreaded tribunal in his brief of relation, the effect upon Europe, and this goes into something else, but the key point is, he says, the Indian's destiny as a Jewish one is far more explicit, for they will see the new world natives as descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. So when they saw them, they said, these are the Israelites. And there's many, let me do this. Let me go to one more. Okay, this is not it. Okay, I believe it's right here. This is page. That was page 164. This is page 168 of Lost Tribes and Promised Land. Okay, Eliot's sense of the deep lying affinities between the Indian language and Hebrew. Between the Indian language and Hebrew, because they found out that these Indians in America spoke Hebrew. Between the Indians and the Jewish spirit. Now they're talking about the Israelite spirit. So the question is, how in the hell can they speak a Jewish language? Because they're Israelites. This mode at its height is vividly conceived in a pamphlet describing Eliot's activities that was written in London in 1649 by our old friend Edward, that's not saying nothing. Let me jump down to here. It says modern writers and men of great depth, in other words, knowledgeable men, and ability to resolve the first, what became of the 10 tribes of Israel. The second is, what family, tribe, kindred, or people it was the first planted and afterward filled that vast and long unknown country of America. It was the Israelites. So Esau knew this. The historians, the religious leaders, they knew when they came over here, when Christopher Columbus came over here, they knew that they were Israelites. They knew that they were going to encounter the 10 lost tribes. Let me jump down to here. Okay, so it goes on and says, of the 10 lost tribes, Manasseh, that's not the tribe of Manasseh, a man by the name of Manasseh, had answered that at least some of them were in America. And Winslow, who had himself often observed customs among the Indians, the Americans, the natives, of a purportedly Judaic character. That's what James Adair said when he traded with him. He said there were certain words. He said the word for fire they would call ash, which is Hebrew for fire. They would call on Yahweh. Their customs was that of the ancient Hebrews. So anyway, I'm going to close. But if you can't get the book, it's a long read, a lot of information in there. I'm going to say shalom.